today's video, I am going to show you how I use my waver to get tons of shape and volume and texture in my fine flat hair. A waver is going to give you a ton of texture, kind of like curling your hair, but arguably it's a little bit easier to use than your average curling tool. So it is a great alternative if you find that no curling method really truly works for you and you just can't get them to work. I also find that waves last in my hair even longer than curls. I did blow dry stronghold mousse into my hair. I used the Design Me Puff Me Stronghold Volumizing Mousse from Design Me before I blow dried my hair. That has heat protection in it and it's going to help my hair hold any styling that I put. But now that my hair is dry, I am going to add more heat protection with the AG Firewall. This is a great heat protection for putting on your dry hair because it will not wet your hair. Again, you do not have to wait for it to dry. You can go right over it immediately. I focus my heat protection mostly on my ends, but a little spritz on the top as well. This waver is from the brand Tymo. I will put the link to it in the description and in the comments. And it is a great one. I have had 3 barrel ones. Those look like 3 curling irons attached to each other. I do like those, but they sent me this one a while back and I like this one better. This is their smaller one. There is a bigger one, but because I don't have super long, thick hair, I do find the smaller one works really well for my hair. The bigger one would be fine too, but I think the bigger one is better if you have longer hair or if you have a really thick hair. But even if your hair is thick but quite on the short side, I think the smaller one would do you better because it allows you to take smaller sections, getting more texture. If you have the bigger one, you're going to get less texture if your hair is not super long. So just something to keep in mind, but they are both going to work similarly. It's just this one is a bit smaller than the other one. I have mine set to 300 degrees Fahrenheit and a 4-second setting. And what that means is when you close it, you will hold it until you hear the beep, and then you know that you can let go. I have mine set to 4 seconds to hear that beep. I think it goes up to as high as 8 seconds, but if your hair is fine and thin like mine, 4 seconds is the lowest setting and it is more than enough. The only time you'd really want to use higher number, leave it on your hair longer, is if you have really coarse hair, really stubborn hair, really thick hair, or if you have hair that really, if you try it and you're finding that the waves are just falling out pretty much within the first half an hour, then try a longer setting for sure, but try it on a small section of your hair first and make sure that your hair stands up to a little bit more heat really well and that it doesn't sustain any damage. You don't necessarily want to go in on your whole head if your hair is fine, but sometimes when your curls or your waves or whatever texture it is that you're creating falls out, sometimes it's that your hair needs a little bit more heat. All right, so I like to put it so that the double barrel is at the top and that small barrel, the single barrel, is coming up. And if you have the Tymo waver, you'll know which side the top is by where the name is. But if you're using another barrel, you can go either way, but I just like it if you're using one that's like this where it's 2 and 1, where the single one is coming up from the bottom. And we just take a section, close it as close as we can get to the scalp. Hear the beep and you let go and you're gonna get a nice wave. Now you can just kind of willy-nilly like go through your hair. It'll look fine. If you want to get really precise defined waves, you want to make sure that you get one of these guys into this bottom wave so that you're continuing on the shape as opposed to randomly sticking it anywhere. So you can see I find that wave, I clamp down, and we've got our second piece, and then one more on the end. And I do usually leave the ends just out. So we'll go all over the head and do this everywhere. I do find this a little bit more time consuming than curling my hair, only because you really do have to wait those seconds for it to fully heat and set the hair into that shape. If you are not doing that, then you're just not going to get as good of results. So it does take me a little longer than if I have curled my hair because I'm pretty quick with my flat iron or my curling wand. And this takes a tiny bit longer than that. But the trade-off is I do feel like it's a little bit easier for people to use than a curling wand or a flat iron to get texture in their hair. So it's a good trade-off. It takes a little longer, but at least you can do it. I do often get asked how I do the back. I just feel for the straight hair, and I just go by feel. I can't see what I'm doing back there. I don't look in a mirror. I just feel. So I don't know what to tell people. You can. I know when I was younger, I used to set up mirrors so I could see the back of my head. I will usually ask my daughter or my husband if I've missed any pieces at the back, or if no one's around, I will either take a picture of the back or find a mirror and look at the back so that I can see if I missed any sections, but then I will just grab those sections and fill them in. I'm usually doing more like messy texture anyways with my hair, so I do feel like nothing has to be perfect. And I mean, no matter how perfect my hair looks when I leave the house, we all know the elements are going to get to it. Sweat, wind, rain, whatever it is I'm out doing is going to affect how my hair continues to look throughout the day or night, and it's not going to stay looking perfect anyways, so I don't worry about it too much. I keep losing this section here. Hold it together a little better. I don't worry about it too much because, you know, it's gonna look good enough. One other reason you might find that your curls or your waves or whatever aren't lasting is because you're taking sections that are too thick. A lot of times we want to rush. We want to get done our hair quickly. I always advise making sure you have plenty of time to style your hair and taking sections that are smaller than you think you have to take. Once you get good at doing your hair, you can definitely start to experiment with how bigger sections will work with certain types of tools and styles in your hair. But one of the big reasons people's hair doesn't last or doesn't turn out like they think it will is because the sections are too thick and they're not getting heated up correctly and evenly in their hot tools, therefore leading to sections of their hair to start falling out because it wasn't evenly heated, wasn't well heated, wasn't properly styled in the first place. And that would be, I would say, the #1 reason for people's hair not lasting or not looking the way they anticipated it to look. So always making sure you are taking thinner sections than you think you need to take, because you can't go wrong with thinner sections. Thinner sections is going to lead to better hold, more volume, nicer texture. You really can't go wrong. And over time, like I said, as you get to know how a tool works for your hair, what works, what doesn't, etc., you can start to play around with different densities in your sections. But at first, it is definitely a good idea to go with sections that are on the smaller side. And at the top here, I make sure to get this tool, my waver, whatever kind of waver I'm using, as close to my scalp as possible. That's what's going to help get me a lot of volume. If you don't get your curls or your waves or whatever it is close to your scalp, your hair is still going to be very flat on top, which is a look. It's fine. It's valid. There's nothing wrong with it. But for the most part, I find most people with thin, fine, flat hair are looking for volume. And if volume is what you want, you definitely need to get your tool close to the top of your head. There we go, all waved. You could leave it like this. I, of course, like to shake it out. Shake! I like to flip it to the side. You can also wear it, of course, in the middle, but I just love a side part whenever my hair is curled or waved. And look at that. Look at that. If you can't curl your hair, you can't tell me this is not a great alternative. Love it. Love the volume. This will last me 4 days. It won't be as voluminous tomorrow or the next day. I will lose some of that volume and wave, but my hair will not go back to straight. It will stay really pretty and textured until I wash my hair again. So give a waver a try if you suck at curling your hair and you just get so frustrated with it. This is a great alternative. Hope that helps. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments. As usual, I will do my very best to answer those, or just say hey, because I love to hear from you guys. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of my videos. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Thank you so much for watching today.